Hello and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Jessica McDonald and I am a knitting pattern designer and I live in Idaho in the United States. Today is Thursday, March 25th and it's a miserable day. It's cold, it's windy, and it's snowing, which that's just Idaho for you. So I'm going to show you everything I've been working on over the course of March. I know that March isn't quite over yet. We've got 6 more days to go, but I'm going to podcast, do my March podcast today. So my goal is to podcast at the end of every month and show you what I've been working on for that whole month. And today is the day that I have chosen, even though it's gloomy outside. So hopefully it's not too dark for you all and you can see what I show you. First of all, I'll start with what I'm wearing because I don't think I ever showed this off on my podcast before. This is Ruska. I released this pattern in November, this last November. This is knit out of Barrett Wool Co. Wisconsin woolen spun. The worsted weight, there's a fingering weight and a worsted weight. This one's the worsted weight. And it's done in colors. Quaker Gray is the main color, then Penny is this harvest gold color, and then Pebble is the black. It's not completely black, it's more of a really dark charcoal. I don't think it's a true black, but those are the colors. It is knit from the top down in the round, and it features different Shetland knitting motifs that go down to, I don't know, upper waist. Right here, my waist is here. So down below the bust, and then the same on the sleeves. And you move through different motifs. I'll move closer so you can kind of see them. Focus it so you can see them a little better. So you move through all these different motifs, which makes it incredibly fun to knit. Honestly, it's addictive to make. You just can't put it down. It's a lot of fun to go through all the different motifs and see how it knits up and watch it take shape. It's also really easy. It's really easy color work. Even though it uses 3 different colors, you only ever work with 2 colors on any row. You just switch up which is the main color, which is the contrast color. So it's really easy knitting. It's really fun knitting. It's I don't want to go out and go on a limb here, but I think it's the funnest thing I have ever designed in terms of how enjoyable it is to knit. So I made mine, and then I made the girls', so I made two little Ruskas, and I've got a pile of yarn in my closet, and I'm gonna make a hat. I just can't stop wanting to knit this because it's just so fun to just knit this. Plus it fits really well. It fits really well. I even saw a man made this, the Bearded Pearl on Instagram. I saw he made it and it fit really well. Even though I designed this with a woman's size chart, it still fit him perfectly, and I was pretty happy to see that. So that kind of makes it unisex instead of just feminine. And I really like it when, you know, anybody can make a pattern. So this is Ruska. And if you want to buy the pattern, you can find it on Ravelry and my website. I'll put links to both of those places down below so you can find all of my patterns if you are so inclined. So I think I will start with my finished objects. I've only got 2 to show you. I don't have a lot of knitting done this month. So last time I was working on the collar of this one. As you can see, it is now done. Move my face out of the way. So this is Tamarack. It is a top-down textured shawl collar cardigan, and it is sized from 2 years to 12 years, and this is the size 6. So if you're not familiar with my plans for this year, if this is your first time watching this podcast or learning about me, I am writing a book of children's patterns, and it's called the Woodland Ramble Collection. And this is one of the sweaters that's going to go in the collection. I'm doing 4 sweaters. I've got 4 kids, so that works out pretty handily. This one is for Jimmy. So this is called Tamarack. A tamarack and a larch are the same tree. All of these patterns are going to be named after trees. So a tamarack and a larch are the same tree. I was going to name it larch, but my husband did not think that was the best name. So it's tamarack. Same tree, just different name. So it's got all over broken rib texture, which is really easy to work. It's just knits and purls, and it has a really, really nice effect. It looks really nice. A shawl collar. I haven't got my buttons yet. I've ordered some wooden buttons, and hopefully they come by the next time I podcast so I can show you how it looks with buttons. This is my first FO. The shawl collar is scaled for the different sizes. So the 3 smaller sizes have a shawl collar this big, and the 3 larger sizes have a bigger collar because then it fits their body size more appropriately and looks more to scale. So this is my first FO, it's Tamarack. This is knit out of Durero Natura in the colorway Caramel. It's a really, really soft, lightweight yarn. It's woolen spun, so it doesn't have the best stitch definition, but I think it does pretty good. Like, you can see the texture really well in here. And it's really soft, really lightweight. I think it's perfect for children's wear, and the colors. One of the things that really tipped me over to this yarn was the color selection was exactly what I had in mind for this collection of patterns. So Tamarack is my first FO, and I guess it needs buttons, so maybe I technically can't call it an FO, but I'm going to. So there's Tamarack. It is currently in test knitting, and the pattern will be out this fall with the rest of the collection. If you want to make sure you're alerted to all of my new pattern releases, you can sign up for my newsletter. I'm going to put a link to that in the description box below as well, so you'll be able to see whenever I release a new pattern. So my next FO is another sweater from my Woodland Ramble collection. This one is called Birch. Let me hold it up so you can see. Hopefully you can see. Try to peek around the edge. This one was a lot of fun to knit. Moving through all of these different textures kept it really interesting and never got bored. So you've got block stitch over here, and a cable here, some moss stitch, then our center panel, more moss stitch, cable, and more block stitch. So it's just mirrored, so you have the center panel and the sides are the same, and then the back is identical. So you have all the texture on the back too. I didn't want to do, party on the front, plain stockinette back, which might be easier, I don't know, to knit and to design, but I didn't want to do that. I wanted to have it textured all over. I think it's really cool that way. This is my first ever drop shoulder design. And I did a modified drop shoulder. What that means is it's got a few underarm stitches. Usually when you do a drop shoulder, you just split it right here at the underarm, and there are no underarm stitches, and you just work straight. So at the underarm, it's a steep V like this. But I decided to put some stitches for the underarm. So you work from the bottom up, and then when you get to the underarm, you put 6 stitches in each underarm on waste yarn to wait for the sleeves. So that gives it more of a nicer arm shape, and the shoulder isn't as bulky because you've taken some of those stitches and stuck them in the underarm. So I just think it fits a little nicer. That's my opinion anyway, because if you have a steep V in your underarm, that can kind of pinch or ride up, and I didn't think that would be very comfortable. So if you put stitches in the underarm, then you have a flat section of knitting underneath your armpit instead of just this V that sits there. And I wanted to make this as comfortable as I possibly could. So drop shoulder, modified drop shoulder. There are no short rows shaping the shoulder. There's no shoulder shaping at all. Most drop shoulder patterns that are made these days have some amount of short rows here in the shoulder to kind of shape the curve of the shoulder. I did not do this in this pattern. If this was an adult pattern, I probably would, just to make for a more refined fit. This is focused on me. Hang on. I don't want this to be blurry. It was a couple episodes ago, and so I've been a little bit worried about that ever since. So if this was an adult pattern, I probably would put short rows in the shoulder to shape it to make for a more refined fit. But since it's a kid's pattern, the shoulder is only a few inches wide. I decided to just work it straight. That way it's also a lot easier for somebody who wants to knit this, who's not comfortable doing short rows or who just doesn't want to deal with it. Then, you just work to a certain length and cut it off straight. And it still fits really well. When I put this on Brenna, the sleeve pulls this down around the shoulder really nicely. It doesn't stick out weird. It doesn't look funny. It fits really nice. So I'm happy with my decision to have it just be square. And so I guess I don't think I talked about this ever before. I don't think I've started this at the last episode. So I think this might be the first time I'm showing it off. So you start from the bottom up and you work in the round until you get to the underarm, and then you work fronts and backs separately. And you work up to here, and then you bind off the bottom of the neckline, and then you work some decreases here, and then you just work to a certain length here. And then once you've got both shoulders done, you work the 3-needle bind off to join the shoulders. And it makes for a fairly flat seam. I'm trying to show this to you without, let's see here, focus on it, not me, so you can see the seam right here. It's pretty flat. I didn't want something bulky and uncomfortable that would make the kid kind of be like, I don't really like this sweater. Because often for kids, comfort is key, and if you make a sweater that's even slightly uncomfortable, even if they can't tell you, I don't like the shoulder seam, they'll just be like, oh, no, I don't want to wear that. And you don't want to make something that the kid's not going to wear, because that's just a waste. Very disappointing. So I wanted something that would be easy to work. This way you don't have to do any seaming. You can just do a 3-needle bind off, and it's relatively flat, so it's going to be comfortable for the child to wear. And yeah, I think it'll be pretty sturdy. I'm pretty happy with my choice to do 3-needle bind off there. Then after you've worked the fronts and backs and joined the shoulders, I have you do the neckline before you do the sleeves. That way you can do the neckline without the sleeves flopping around. So the neckline, you pick up all the stitches around the neckline, and then you work in 1x1 ribbing for, I think it's 2 1/4 inches. I wanted it to be 1 inch tall, and then I needed to allow a little bit of extra because it folds over. Since it's a really squishy textured sweater, I wanted to have a neckline that was similarly cozy. So that's why I chose to do a folded neckline. You see it a lot in Nordic knitting patterns, the folded neckline. It's really popular over there, like Scandinavian patterns. And I just really think it gives it a really cozy, squishy look to go with the rest of the texture that's really cozy and squishy. Plus it fits really nice. I think it looks really good. So you pick up the stitches, knit for 2 1/4 inches. Then I have you bind off all of the stitches in knit. And the reason I have you bind them all off in knit versus in pattern is it makes this braid, this bind off edge, oops, it's trying to focus on me still, get out of the picture here. It makes this bind off braid that lies flat on the outer edge of the ribbing. And then I have you sew it down. After you bind off, you sew it down, and you kind of just sew the 2 legs, the closest leg of the bind off braid to the closest leg of the ridge where you picked up your stitches, and you sew those 2 together. And it makes for this really neat and flat. Do you see how flat that is? Make sure it's not focused on me. Do you see how flat that is? It's completely flat. There's no ridge here. No ridge. And it's stretchy. And I think it will be pretty strong too. So my 5.5-year-old, she's a normal size, and she wears size 6 normally. And she has an enormous head. And this just slides on and off with absolutely no trouble at all. So this does stretch really nicely. I'm really pleased with how I figured out how to do the neckline. I kind of just messed around with it and played with it. I wanted something that would be really strong and comfortable. So I thought about just sewing the live stitches down to the neckline. That would be really flexible. But then I realized that if, say, the kid decides they want to yank the sweater down and try to take it off down over their body instead of over their head, like my 5-year-old likes to do, then they might break the yarn that you use to sew it down, and then you've got live stitches that are unraveling, and you've got basically a giant disaster on your hands, and you'd have to take out the whole neckline and completely redo it to fix it. Whereas if I bound off all the stitches and then sewed them down, if that piece of yarn that was used to sew them down does get broken, you don't have any live stitches that are coming unraveled, and you can just sew it back down again. And since it's on the inside, you don't even have to use the same yarn, because you would see it if it's lying in your wardrobe. You would see this section, but when you're wearing the sweater, you're not going to see the yarn that was used to sew down the neckline at all. So that's why I did what I did. I took some pictures while I was doing it, so I'm going to put a photo tutorial for how I did the neckline on my blog so people can see exactly how I sewed it down, because it's kind of hard to explain exactly what I did, but the photos will make it pretty clear. But yeah, this neckline was a lot of work. So first I knit the whole front, held it up to my daughter and went, oh, that's way too deep. Or not way too deep, way too shallow. And so I ripped the whole thing back again, and I reknit it again. I made it much, much deeper, because originally I bound off about here. So it was going to be like riding up on the neck, and it wasn't going to look very nice or be very comfortable. So I ripped the whole thing out, reknit the whole thing, and then I had the depth right for the bind off, and then I picked up for the neckline, but then I picked up too many stitches and it was standing straight up and sticking out a little bit, so I ripped that out again and picked up fewer, and then it was perfect. So getting this neckline perfect was a bit of a chore. I'm going to pause my camera and restart because it only records for 20 minutes. Okay, restarted with a new 20-minute section of recording time. That's really annoying that it stops in the middle. I'm sorry about that. That's just what it does. Anyway, so there was a lot of work to get the neckline fitting the way that it fits, but I'm really happy with it now. It fits beautifully. It's absolutely perfect. I don't know how to insert pictures. Maybe I'll try to figure it out and insert one here of the neckline with her wearing it, but I don't think I'll be able to, because to learn how to do all these things takes a lot of time, and I do not have a lot of time. So anyway, if you follow me on Instagram, I'm going to put up some pictures of it next week, and if you follow my blog, you'll see the neckline tutorial. If you sign up for my newsletter, I will tell you about my new blog posts. Once a month I send out a newsletter just telling you new podcasts, new blog posts, what I'm up to. So if you want to know what I'm up to and learn about new pattern releases, sign up for my newsletter. Basically sign up for my newsletter, it's a place to be. But back to my sweater. So the sleeves are just stockinette. I kind of like the idea of just having a plain sleeve next to the heavily textured body. Plus, then you don't have to decrease in pattern, and it's a lot quicker and simpler and easier. I know a lot of people hate purling and a lot of people hate knitting sleeves. I don't. I think sleeves are fun because they're really fast. But I decided to do the sleeves in stockinette for A few reasons. First of all, I like how it looks next to the heavily textured body, the nice clean stockinette sleeve. Second of all, if I did this in moss stitch, the inside of the sleeve would be bumpy, and since it's a slim fitting sleeve, you have a picky kid, they're not going to like the bumpy texture inside their sleeve, and once again they're just gonna be like, I don't really like that sweater. So the stockinette gives you a smooth sleeve inside, they're not going to be complaining about it's bumpy, they're not going to be squirming when they put it on. And for people who hate knitting moss stitch or purling in general, it will be more pleasant. And for people who hate knitting sleeves, it will be faster. And for people who don't want to keep track of decreasing in pattern when they do the sleeve decreases, it will be easier. So there were quite a few reasons to do it in stockinette. And I do seriously prefer the way that it looks. I think it gives it a really modern look to have a slim fitting, clean sleeve next to the highly textured body. Because most drop shoulder, Gainsey style or heavily cabled sweaters are from, a few decades ago, and they're really oversized and they're really bulky and the sleeves are really huge, and you can just tell the child's wearing a bunch of rectangles sewn together. And I wanted something with a little more refined fit, a little more polish to it, but still be cozy and kind of casual with the drop shoulder. Maybe a little bit of throwback, but a better fit. So, I say so a lot, don't I? So, sleeves are stockinette, and then I decided to do a folded cuff to go along with the folded neckline. It looks really cute, it really does. I took some pictures of Brenna wearing this sweater yesterday. It looks really cute with the folded cuff. It's really squishy and cozy looking, and it mirrors the folded neckline really well, and I just really like it. Plus, you can just kind of slowly unfold it as the child grows and perhaps get some more wear out of this sweater as they grow, because they always go lengthways instead of widthwise first. So this one is called Birch. This one is knit in Rerum Natura. Let me start over. This one is knit in Rerum Natura Ulisse. I've also heard it pronounced Ulsa. So if you know how to pronounce the names properly, let me know. Because I don't, and I don't think anybody else does unless they're French. It's the sport weight version, and this is the color Goeland, Goeland, which is a really nice heathered gray, and will be showing up again in the future. It will be the main color of Aiden's colorwork sweater. Also feature in the yoke of Talia's colorwork sweater. So I really like gray. I used to think I couldn't like gray because it wasn't technically a color, but I really like gray. I've grown out of that. So this is my second FO, Birch. This pattern, I just finished this pattern yesterday and sent it off to the tech editor yesterday. I'm not sure when I will be getting it back, but hopefully I can start the test knit in the next couple of weeks sometime. But once again, this pattern will not be out until this fall. It's part of my collection, Woodland Ramble collection, that will be out this fall. It's also going to be in a book, so you can buy a book. It's kind of scary. I have a lot to figure out about how to make a book and how to sell a book, but I'm very excited. So those are my two whips for this episode, and I have one FO now. This is my linen tee that I showed you last time. I was just through the lace hem, I think maybe a tiny bit into the body. Just this morning I have split or separated the front and back. So this is knit from the bottom up. So you can see the body's pretty short. I decided that I was going to wear it cropped and wear it over top of dresses and skirts and other high-waisted things. I just said that's how I want to wear it, so I cropped it. I was a bit nerve-wracking. I'm still really nervous about the length of the body. I have never made a cropped sweater before. I have an incredibly long torso. My torso is just as long as my husband's torso, and he's 6'4". When we sit next to each other, we're the same height. So it's really long. And Shirts that are too short has just been my life for the last decade. 2 decades. How old am I? I don't want to know. For the last 20 years, shirts that are too short has been just my life and has been a huge pain point for me. So even though I think that cropped sweaters are very cute, I have never before been interested in making one for myself because it would be feeling like, 17-year-old me, I can't find a shirt that fits. So I didn't want to bring those feelings back up again. But I decided that I want to wear this over dresses and skirts which fit higher in the waist, so I decided to crop it. And deciding what length meant crop to me was a bit nerve-wracking. I'm not quite sure how long is cropped on me. Never knit something cropped, so I didn't have a sweater to go off of already. So I kind of just knit for a while and hold it up to my body and see where it was falling. I wanted it to fall kind of between my natural waist and my belly button, just kind of in between there, not falling right at my natural waist, but just a little tiny bit below there. So I've knit it to 10 inches long, the body to 10 inches long, and then I separated for the front and back. So I think that will be about right. Can't see. Can't see. So here it will be about here. Here's my natural waist here. Belly button's down here. So it's between those two. It will probably get a little bit longer when I wash it at the end because this lace will kind of open up a little bit. So it will fit right about there. Hopefully this doesn't look completely weird to you. It looks weird to me. So then I'll have a dress underneath and hopefully it has a very flowy, loose, casual forest fairy vibe. Maybe not quite forest fairy, but that I see so many other knitters who have their linen dress and their sweater over top, their crop sweater over top, and it looks really good. So I'm kind of copying that style. Except instead of a woolly sweater, this is going to be a nice lightweight linen one. So the lace hem, it's got a short rose work, so the back hem is longer. You can see better if I have it this way. So I'm really pleased with how this one is turning out. About an inch into the back. So yeah, hopefully I can have this one done by the end of March. That's been my goal all along, and right now it's my only project on the needles, so I should be able to make some serious progress with this one over the next week. I've just got to finish the back, do the front, and the front will be a lot faster because it's going to have a V-neck, so I'll be losing stitches the whole time, and then a very simple finish on the neckline. I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do for the sleeves. I was originally thinking about picking up stitches and working a little tiny cuff, but I don't know if I'm still planning to do that. I'll have some kind of finishing on the sleeve, but I'll just try it on when I get there and see how I feel about it. So this is being worked in Shibui Knits Reed. It's a linen yarn, and I'm really enjoying working with it. Last time I told you about how I could only work with it for a little while or my hands would start to get sore, but I think I've figured out how to tension it and how to hold it, and I've gotten used to it to the point where I can knit with it for quite a while without my hands hurting now that I've gotten into it. So I'm pretty happy about that because it is really something that I really want to get done, because I'm really excited about this and all of the outfits I have planned to wear it with. So I want to have it, I do need to have it done in time to start the test knit so you guys can make it this summer, but I'm also very excited to have it done in time for me to wear it. So yeah. I have no idea what to name this one yet. Usually I name them even before I begin knitting them sometimes. But this one I have no name in mind for this one. So I'll have to come up with something. I'm thinking of something flowery. that's my only whip right now. And I keep just like tossing it down and dropping a bunch of stitches. I need to be more careful with it because the linen yarn slides off those metal needles very easily. So that's my only whip right now, but I did buy some new yarn. The sun might come out. Snow is kind of slowing down. So I did buy some new yarn. So Shop La Mercerie is a small online only yarn store. She's fairly large, so hopefully you know who I'm talking about. She's over in the Seattle area. But Jess, who owns Shop La Mercerie, decided she was going to make her own yarn. And this is her yarn. Which is very exciting. I was very excited about it from the moment I saw it. Ampersand Fibers is what it's called. You can only find it on her website, the Shop La Mercerie website. And it is 100% US Cordell. I believe it's spun by Battenkill Fibers. I could be wrong, don't quote me on that. Which is a yarn mill in Maine. I'm not sure where it's dyed. Maybe they dye it as well. It is entirely US sourced, spun, dyed, the whole works. So I think that's really cool. Completely United States made yarn. Plus it's a small women-owned business, which is also really cool. Plus it's the perfect green. Can you see that, fellow green lovers of YouTube? Just look at that. Isn't that stunning? Just gorgeous. The instant she posted this green, I was like, oh yeah, that's mine. I'm gonna buy that. I'm pretty busy, but I'm gonna buy that. It's just stunning. Just absolutely stunning yarn. So I had to buy some. And I'm glad I snatched some up when she released it, because I think it sold out pretty quickly. She probably still has some, but I think this green was gone because I accidentally added way too much yarn to the cart, and it was like, no, you can only have 7 skeins. I got 5. I think that'll be enough to make a sweater for me. This is DK weight. There's also a fingering weight version of it. So I'm planning to make myself a cabled pullover sweater, and that will have to wait for a while. For this fall, I want to release it this fall. Start working on it at some point this summer. But that's just gonna have to be put away for now. The next thing I'm going to make is Pine, which is my eldest daughter Talia's sweater from my Woodland Ramble collection. It's going to be a colorwork top-down colorwork yoke sweater. I have the pattern written, it's all ready to go. I'm just waiting on the yarn. And Jess, again, she is the only stockist of Durare Natura yarns in the United States that I know of. Anyway, I think she is the only one. It's the only place I could find that stocks Durare Natura in the United States. She just got a restock of Durare Natura yesterday, and so I quickly snatched up what I needed to do Talia's sweater, and I needed a little bit more to do Aiden's sweater as well. So I have the rest of the yarn for, hopefully the rest of the yarn for that collection coming, and hopefully it comes in 3 days. I will be very eagerly watching for that, because my pattern for the next sweater I'm going to make is entirely written, entirely ready to go. I already have the gauge because when I got, this is Gilliat as well, it's all going to be made out, Pine is going to be made out of Gilliat as well. So when I got my yarn for Tamarack, I just did all of my swatching to get all of my gauge numbers so I could write all of my patterns even if I didn't have the actual yarn I was going to use. Because it was just a different color of the same base, so I would be able to write all the patterns. So I have my Pine pattern written and waiting, and I am so excited. Picking a favorite might not be okay, but I think Pine is going to be my favorite. I don't have a favorite child, but I think I can have favorite sweater designs. I think that's allowed. I think it's allowed. Although this one is really cool too. Oh, this was really cool too. Okay, I like them all. But I think pine's gonna be my favorite. And I think I'm gonna make a grown-up pine for myself. So many people have expressed interest in adult versions of these patterns that I think next year I will release adult versions of these patterns, because so many people just love these and want them for themselves. So I think I will do that. You can let me know if that's something you'd be interested in as well. I really like this collection. It really feels like me, and it really feels like what I want to make and what I want to put out into the world. So I'm pretty happy with this. But I have to wait for more yarn before I can make the other ones. But by the time I podcast next, I should have my linen when done, obviously, but I should have the whole rest of the collection done, or nearly so, because I really need to get it done. I'm planning to release it in October, and if I'm going to have everything knit in time for me to take the pictures, I want to take the pictures in June, and then I have to put together the book so that I can get it printed, so that I can sell it by October. So there's a lot of planning going on. So hopefully by the next podcast, I'll be able to show you the whole rest of the collection. I've also got a whole mitten and hat pattern charted as well, which is very cute. There's a lot of trees involved in this collection, and they're all named after trees. I don't mind. I think I've been talking for long enough. I might just end up rambling about random things if I keep going at this point. So I'm going to let you go, and I'm very happy you all stuck with it to the very end. Thank you for coming here and for watching my podcast. I absolutely love it when you come and chat with me in the comments. And if you want to see my patterns or sign up for my newsletter, you can do so in the description box below. I'll put links to everything down there. And please subscribe to my channel and like this video, and I'll talk to you all next time. Bye!